a professional who can help you out of the conflict, because the main problem over here is not whether you should or should not take substances. It's about our own conflicts, about how we are evaluating ourselves, our fear of judgment, about and a sense of need for validation, and where is the need for validation stemming from. Those have to be addressed rather than a simple question of should you drink or not. It's not allowed, so don't do it. It's not as simple as that. So how do they develop? So we do not develop substance use overnight. It's multifactorial. It's an intersection of a lot of factors. Usually it develops over time. Sometimes it can be a few months or even few years before a person realizes that, okay, this 2 peg that I've been drinking every day, or the one joint that I was smoking up every day has actually gone up to 5, and without that I cannot really function. My day doesn't really feel meaningful. So concerns. And of course, we have a lot of genetic factors. If we have anybody in the family, any parent or any grandparent, anybody in the genogram who has had substance use disorders, there is a genetic vulnerability for it. However, it doesn't mean that just because I have a father who had alcohol use disorder, I'm going to have it as well. Everybody has a genetic proneness for all disorders, including schizophrenia, cancers. It's just about what is going to be the diathesis that is going to trigger the beginnings of a disorder. Okay? Personality factors that have been noted to put a person at risk for developing substance use is impulsivity. So not looking through the consequences of a particular behavior, risk-taking and novelty-seeking. Trauma and abuse often lead people to taking substances, and mental health factors such as anxiety, depression, and how we respond to stress and any adjustment issues can be a concern or a risk factor. Now over here we have a little tiny thing which shows about how alcohol is used as a coping mechanism. Usually whenever a person feels extremely angry and they take alcohol, it impacts their executive function again. It reduces their inhibition. It kind of interferes with their judgment. Again, also their reaction time. So somebody who would be very slow in responding to, let's say, threat, or somebody speaking rudely, under the influence of alcohol, they might be very prompt. So, there's a decreased reaction times can fluctuate over there. And of course, social environment like peer pressure, the kind of network we have, a network that protects us or a network that promotes and encourages substance use. And what is the incentive? Usually when we start taking substances or consider taking substances, we're looking at some reward or something meaningful coming out of it. So it's not the substance that is, that is wrong. It's our reasons that are prompting us to take substances. And over there, again, there is no moral question about whether we are wrong. It's just how we feel that a substance is going to help us. Just like if we are having a bad day, we want to have a dessert. Nothing wrong in that. So likewise, we might say that, okay, I've just taken, or, I've just smoked up once. However, the reason why we want to smoke up again, or the reason why we might want to take some substances again and again, is because it develops a subjective meaning of reward and pleasure for us. So what are the environmental factors of college students that can promote the use of substances or even promote a resistance towards taking substances? So we are looking at the risk factors over here. If there are so usually social demographics, education, financial stability, they matter. However, impoverishment, either emotionally or in terms of finances, where we don't know where the next meal is coming from, they can raise the bar for being at risk. Easy availability, so accessibility, will make a young adult prone for taking to have substances available within the college campus, a secret, but it is available. So if the college doesn't have very strict rules, then even somebody who did not even have an intention for exposure might see peers who are taking it, and repeated exposure might reduce the threat that we associate with the consequences of taking substances. And of course, employment status. If we have a home where we see that there are models who are responsible, they're going out, finishing a role, coming back, and they are sharing a very warm communication. As young college students, we might also want to model those behaviors. because it is rewarded at the end of the day. When we come back, we talk. But if there is people modeling responsible behaviors without communication that is warm and inviting, but is hostile or neglectful, or doesn't show any interest towards a young adult, those can be concerns. So, what are the prescription drugs that are mostly used by college students? Pain relievers, sedatives, tranquilizers, stimulants, and they might have very immediate intoxications, yes, euphoria, sluggishness, increased alertness and energy. So a lot of young adults do use stimulants. And interestingly, over the last 3-4 years, in my when I was in private practice, we used to have a lot of young adults who would come in for assessments for ADHD, citing that they have difficulties with concentration and focus. And if they were told that no, you don't have problems with AD, it's probably because of anxiety or poor self-regulation or other difficulties, they would not appreciate that, because for them, if they are not able to focus, getting substances which can increase their altered sense of focus is what they're looking at. However, these medications are addictive because of the immediate impact. You take Adderall and there's increased alertness. You do a brilliant presentation. Your exam goes wonderfully well. Anybody with some anxiety about a presentation or interviews, so Adderall is a very frequently abused medication, even by patients who are taking it for their treatment for ADHD. So, in a classroom situation, in a college campus, how can we look out for somebody who might be under the use of substances, or as faculty? How do we know? The moment we see that our friends are not really becoming withdrawn and there is irritability. Now, of course, these symptoms do not mean that they have substance use. It could be depression, it could be anxiety, they might be preoccupied with something else. But what we are trying to see is that how, from their levels of functioning, how are they falling, and what are the events they are choosing to participate in. So, withdrawal, agitation, headaches, poor concentration, yes, it can be a part of depression as well, or anxiety as well. Avoiding social commitments, like going out for a party or going out hiking or doing things together in the college. How do we know it is out because of substance use? When a person says that, oh, I'm drinking so much, I'm going to drink only on Fridays, and the person binges on Friday, or is not able to stick to that limit setting that I'm only going to drink on a Friday. So I drink on a Friday and a Saturday and a Sunday. Avoid sacrificing activities. So I am only going to those activities where substances are being served. So alcohol is being served, or I know that okay, if I go to this party, there is going to be MDMA, or there's going to be some sort of marijuana to smoke up. So when we see that the person is skipping classes and they're meeting with a group of people who are taking substances, and this when they're kept away, so if the person is highly irritable and is highly agitated and they're just not willing to sit and complete an examination for something not very easily explainable or understandable, we might want to suspect substance use, because that might be the time that they're supposed to use, and exam timings are not convenient for them, or they've come in intoxicated. So intoxication, setting limits and talking about setting limits to their substance use, choosing the kind of activities they're going to engage in. These are, and of course, intoxication and talking about craving, these are going to be signs that a person is probably under the influence or of any dependence, any substances, or prone to developing a dependence. Now, young adulthood is a very difficult stage because it's a convergence of adolescent structures and autonomy over making our own choices. This is a time when we are solidifying or consolidating our identity. And when we talk about identity, suddenly the college provides us different types of identity. So it could be religious, political, it could be based on our ethnicity, it could be gender identity. So how we navigate those emotions and the information that is coming in from our peers, and peers are very, very important, starting from adolescence to adulthood, young adulthood. And how we resolve these conflicts is going to be dependent on a parenting styles. So if we have parents who are very punitive, parents who are democratic, parents who are neglectful and they don't really care what the child is doing, are extremely permissive. So we do have parents or families where parents take alcohol and they have their children and they have their adolescents seeing them taking alcohol, or they encourage. So there are some families who will say, okay, you drink with me so that I can monitor that you're drinking at safe levels. That is one style. There are also some styles which drink together and there is no boundary. So it's like, I drink, the parents get intoxicated and the child and the adolescent is watching, and they are going to model those behaviors. And then the discord begins that, okay, I am an adult and I can do it. You're a child, you're not supposed to do it. And back comes the reply that, if you're doing it, I can do it. There's nothing wrong. So, what is the parenting style? If there is discord, how do the parents and the children resolve that discord? That will influence how are we going to assert ourselves under peer pressure. Education environment, again, if the teachers are teaching us that not values in the traditional conventional sense of morality, but how are you supposed to conduct yourself in times of conflict, or if you need help, who are the people to choose to go for help? Okay? The structure of the curriculum. So this college curriculum is such that it provides enough incentive for the students to participate, and even if they are not doing well in academia, they have a music club or they have a journal club. So there is some level of there is some platform for the young adolescent or the young adult to have their self-esteem, feel a sense of accomplishment. And that is what we are looking at in the college campus. So when we are looking at substance use, we are not just looking at what are the factors within the adolescent, because within the adolescent would mean looking into the community. So what is the home community like? What is the college community like? When they are going from home to the college, what is that street? What are those roads? What are the roads that they are passing? Because everything is an influence. Now, college is a wonderful era of self-discovery. All the things that we wanted to become when we were children. I want to become a postman. I want to become a model. I want to become a pilot. We are now choosing a subject of our choice and we are developing our skill. It gives us a certain sense of autonomy that I know my subject and I know whether to pursue higher education or to go into a job. So you see, there is a lot of very difficult decisions that a young adult has to take in. And while this is a good thing because we are letting our personalities develop, it can also be extremely challenging. And if you don't know who to go to in order to ask for support, that can become problematic, because who we go to ask for help is going to decide what are the coping skills we learn and what are the self narratives we teach ourselves. What are the challenges in a campus environment that can encourage substance use? So, if you don't, the cool club, or people who look very rad and in, how do you resist the pressure when they say that, smoke up with me, it's fun? Or if you are not going to be smoking up with me, then, I do not want to be associated with you. Often what happens is, even if a person has taken substances and they have been identified by the teachers and they've been, the parents have been notified and they are undergoing treatment, there's a lot of stigma attached to a person who's trying to take treatment and recover from it. So you see, it's a double whammy. If I take substances, there's stigma. If I'm recovering from it, there is stigma as well. Okay? So how do we address it? So again, this is where teachers come in and the systems and the policies in the college come in, where we understand that there is going to be pressure to conform not only to the college curriculum. So let's say it's very strict about timing and you have to submit your deadline, you have to meet your deadlines, and you have to do academically very well, you have to participate. So again, while it might sound very nice developing our personalities, we only have 24 hours and it can be a lot more. It can really stress our resources for meeting all the demands that are being placed on us, all in good faith. And of course, there is a lot of discrimination. So we often, even as faculty, we tend to say that, oh, the backbenchers, or, oh, this person looks this way. So these are all very basic and very superficial ways of developing stereotypes and biases within us. And sometimes that discrimination that we have is extremely, extremely what do I say over here? It's very, very strong and potent, and that can often push a person towards substances or choosing a wrong coping style, wherein they start internalizing. I am sad, I cannot cope, I don't have people to go to and talk to. So it's not like the first step is taking substances. There's a lot of internalizing happening, bottling up, resisting the urge to have an outburst. And then they discover that, okay, when I take a sleeping pill and I sleep, I'm able to face the next day. Sometimes the and usually what happens in males and females is females tend to internalize anything that they are stressed out about, and males tend to externalize. So they're going to be more exuberant, they're going to get into fights, there's going to be higher impulsivity. Okay? But both can, in a way, be risk factors for choosing substances if there is no social support within the college, within the peer group, and of course at home. And there are lots of, again, like I was saying, recovery status. So for instance, there was this one 21-year-old that I was working with, and was going to college. He developed substance use, and he had a 2-year history of taking it started with taking inhalants, went on to taking marijuana. And we were, during our one-on-ones individual sessions, we were talking about problem solving and how he can express himself through his communication, and how do we choose certain people. So we often have to choose certain people and situations in which to showcase our talents. We can't just be, I'm an artist, I'm going to show how good I'm an artist in all situations. That doesn't happen. So while we were talking about that, he very gently put in that, you see, what you're teaching me about communicating my talents or my skills in select situations is very fine. However, when I will go back to college, people know that I've had a history of substance use, and that I'm going through substance, taking treatment. A lot of people are already addressing me as, as an addict, and I find that very repulsive. If I ignore it because, you're saying that I need to choose my battles, it's going to fester. But if I keep coming, and if I go keep telling my parents, after a while they're going to get, bored of, listening to me, because in my mind, it's a long uphill task of recovery. But people are going to assume that because I have taken treatment, I'm supposed to get back to the curriculum in a jiffy, and that's not going to happen. So how are you going to help me with that? And that is a reality of any young adult in college situations who are taking treatment or therapy of any kind, because they have to battle. And again, easier said than done, that you don't have to explain yourself, but you have 400 people in the college who know and who may not even ask you. But it's a lot of pressure on us to learn how to adapt to that expected or that assumption about how people are engaging or assuming or perceiving us. Okay? So when we are counseling young adults, even as teachers, we need to know how to engage a young adult, because they're 18, 23. They are very, very intelligent. They have way more concepts about the world. So it's not as easy as, well, we have a problem, let's do something about it. We have to engage them through our behavior to want to come and tell us about their problems. So it's a two-way thing. So in a way, the role is on the teachers and the system to model certain behaviors that will encourage a young adult to ask them for help. And when a faculty or a counselor is listening, it's not about, again, the approach need not be directive, well, don't do it. Young adults know they're not supposed to do it. The idea is not to be moralistic or directive, but to find out what prompted that young adult from taking substances. Usually we see that there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of helplessness, a lot of sense of not being able to control too many things that are happening, feeling very overwhelmed. So we need to find out what are those behavioral patterns when we are trying to address a person who's coming to us for help. So in active listening, we listen to what is being said and what is being attempted to be conveyed. So sometimes we can even ask career questions that, if you continue with this, how do you think it will affect your career? What do you want to do? So it's not about, okay, you're doomed because you're taking substances. How do you see yourself? What did you want to do besides, putting the substance bit aside for a little while? How does substances impact your anger or your capacity to cope? Or in what situations have you been able to not take substances? What are your goals, and how will taking substances help or hinder in achieving those goals? So a scaling question would be that on a scale of 1 to 10, how often do you find yourself telling yourself that, I will not drink from so and so day, or I will, setting limits. So when we are counseling or when we are addressing a young adult, we need to find out who referred. Because if a young adult is coming in on their own and saying, "I have a problem, I want help," that's a very, very big thing, because it's very daunting to come and ask for help. However, when a person has been referred to from a hospital, it's a very different thing, because they are already in the medical healthcare system. We also need to find out whether it is a single substance or multiple substances, because the treatment or in psychotherapy, the treatment paradigm is going to be, the management plans will depend on that. So there's going to be short-term treatment and there's going to be long-term treatment. So somebody who comes in with a 1 month or a 3 month, we can look at a short-term treatment which focuses on 3 months of abstinence and regular intervention. But long term might require, so long term might be 3 months to 6 months, and multiple models. So it's not just therapy. We're looking at medication. We're probably looking at inward admission for 14 days for detoxification. If there are other health issues that have come up, we want to address that as well. And the other thing about young adults who start experimenting, you see, cigarettes after a while are not as they don't have that intoxication that an alcohol is going to get them. Now alcohol, and then you have a stimulant, it's a very, very, or an opioid, it's a very, very different level of intoxication. And what there are some health hazards that come up, and if a person is beginning to take injectables, then we have to check them for any transmittable diseases as well. Mhm. And when we are looking at a young adult, again, it is not just on the young adult to change. We are looking at the entire community. We are looking at how a teacher can help. How can a person who has been identified as substance use, how do we bridge the family into accepting that treatment is available? If the person is undergoing treatment, how do we make it easier for them to come back to classes? How do we help them with the curriculum and ensure? Because ultimately, what we see is usually when substance use begins at a young age, the initial treatment begins around 20s or 30s. And by the time, for those who recover completely, they are 49. So they have lived nearly 2 decades of states of less than ideal health. So there was a study done on collegiate students by Laudet, and they said that if we are able to identify young adults or the youth in the initial stages, and we are able to, even if it, and again, it's not like you take treatment once and it's done. It's going to be multiple, and the family has to be involved as well. So if we are able to spend the next 1 or 2 years engaging the young adult in treatment, even if the family is not supportive, just the young adult, we work with them, then we are reducing the number of years that they will lose to substance use, and we can bring them back into mainstream work. So when we are looking at sustaining recovery in the campus, we are treating it as any other chronic disorders or diseases. All students, irrespective of whether they have substance use or not, need monitoring. And it is better to look at students who are into recovery and supporting them, because you see, there is always a chance of relapse. So if we have 3 years or 1 year of college left, so the more autonomy the college gives to the student that you can support yourself, we are there, right there with you to help you with referrals. The young adult is going to know that there is help available for them when they require it. And often that is what we want. We want to know who to go to. And again, what are the factors that improve our protective factors is personal identity. How is that developing? A sense of belongingness and social support. What is a social identity? And that is how do we recover? What are our friends like? Social identity, our peers, our teachers. What is the kind of rewards and praises we are getting for turning in good work? And let's say we do succumb to substance use, when we are recovering, can we still engage with that network who was supportive of us? And do we have to disengage from friends or even adults who were modeling substance use behaviors? So we want to, again, the burden is not only on the college student. We have to see what is the college campus climate like. And if we find out that a student is not being able to cope with stress, they're not probably taking substances. But the moment we realize that a student is falling back in their grades, or there's absenteeism which is unlike a particular student, immediately notify, let the student know that you've noticed it. Because often the fact that an adult, a responsible adult, has noticed that I am falling back is a sense of relief, so that they know that they can maybe address it or they can ask for help. And always having a pathway where the college can get in touch with the parents and the family members if necessary, again, not to punish but to find out what are the avenues for improving their current condition, and target teaching the faculty and the staff to recognize how to, if students are taking substances, how to address them, and also students to recognize when they are leaning towards substance use, because substance use comes with a whole host of other vulnerabilities, including depression, developing anxiety disorders. If there is a risk factor for somebody who has depression taking substances to have to develop death wishes, then that can become a possibility under substance use. So it is mammoth, but I think with webinars such as these, which encourage student participation to understand what is substance use, and when you lower your own resistance towards listening to information about substance use, you kind of have a lot of questions. So all we are trying to do is develop a sense of openness that it can happen to anyone. It can happen to me as well. So we all have a vulnerability. What we will be at risk for is a discovery. When it's happened, it happens. But there are pathways for treatment. And in Delhi, there are helplines like Telemanas and Kiran, where you can always call and ask for support if you're stressed, even if you're under the influence of substances, or you are contemplating making a decision. You can always call up for these helplines, and it's a 24-hour helpline, and help is always available. And that could be a initial point of contact if you feel that not telling our parents because I'll be shamed, or what will they think of us. But again, as young adults, you can't do everything alone. So please ask for social support and choose your social support very clearly. Thank you. That's all for today. Do we have any questions? Okay. I have a lot of Surya, taking substances deeply altered or distort one perception for a long time. It taken deeply altered. So if you between intoxication. So if you take a substance once and a high dose, now again, high dose will depend on your own constitution. So somebody who doesn't take substances at all, they might discover that a single half a joint is going to get them feeling very, very sick or very, very high immediately. And there will be some who are absolute teetotalers, but they can drink maybe 5 pegs of alcohol and remain absolutely untouched. So their hit will happen later. And so, but yes, intoxication does alter judgment and prolonged use. So let's say we are looking at 10 years of substance use, it does bring about changes in personality and neural pathways as well. I hope that answers your question, Surya. Kul Gaurav.
Sorry for interrupting. We will be taking the questions at the end if that's
Oh,
acceptable.
okay, 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 fine. All right, thank you so much.
And thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your valuable insights with us. Your expertise and perspective has significantly enriched our collective understanding and added immense depth to our discussions. And now I'm pleased to extend a formal invitation to Advocate Bhavna Gandhi, a distinguished legal consultant at the Directorate of Enforcement and a former legal consultant at the Central Information Commission. With prior experience at the Delhi Legal State Service Authority and serving as a national member of the Anti-Sexual Harassment Council of WICCI, as well as an advisor to the student section of the Indian National Bar Association. We cordially invite her to join us as a esteemed guest speaker at our ongoing event. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Akansha, for such kind introduction and words. I hope I'm audible and visible. Could you please check, Akansha, if I'm audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible and we can see your video. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much to the organizing team for having me here. And I would be giving all the participants a quick snapshot of the legal consequences or the legal arena of substance abuse, what may go wrong, and how one has to deal legally with these things. So, substance abuse, starting with the very commonly used substance, which is alcohol. So, alcohol, it is a state subject. As we all know, every state has its own policy relating to the alcohol. It is the state government which regulates what shall be the drinking age, the minimum drinking age for alcohol, where you have to consume, how it has to be consumed. For instance, what are the rules regulating the consumption of alcohol if one is in a public place or at a private event. So all these things, these are dealt in with the state policy. For example, our capital city of Delhi, the drinking age is 25 years. Apparently, the new excise policy of the Delhi government, it were to reduce the age from 25 to 21, but since the policy took a U-turn and it is still under scanner of the CBI and other enforcement agencies, so at present, the minimum drinking age it still remains at 25. So one has to be of that legal age before one consumes it. Number two, from where you are consuming it, and then the quantity. The quantity also, it depends upon the concerned state's excise policy. For instance, you may have heard of these things that on interstate borders there's usually checking of tourist vehicles, because every state has its own policy which regulates the possession of alcohol bottles also. If you can have in your possession 1 liter or 3 liters, and likewise, so one has to see those rules whenever one is in the possession of the alcohol. Now, if one is of the legal age, for instance, if I'm 25 years of age and I'm consuming alcohol at a place which is not illegal, which is duly authorized by the state government, then it is not an offense. It becomes an offense if, after being intoxicated, if I cause any nuisance, any negligence. For instance, if while driving I am intoxicated, so that may lead to drunk driving, and legal consequences under the Motor Vehicles Act and IPC, they may follow. So, consuming alcohol, if one is of the eligible age, it is not per se illegal, but it coupled with the nuisance or negligence that comes up with it, which usually occurs after consuming it, which may be the after effect of it. So that makes it culpable and punishable under various laws. For instance, under IPC, only if one is if any person in a drunken state of mind does any nuisance, so that person can be taken to the jail for about 1 day. The maximum punishment that that person can get is of 24 hours imprisonment and fine. So this is all about the law relating to the alcohol consumption and possession, which is dealt in by the state. The crux is that one has to see the state where one person is. For instance, in states like Bihar, Gujarat, consumption of alcohol is completely illegal. So consumption, sale, manufacturing, all of those things are illegal. So it depends upon the concerned state where we are. Number two, talking about drugs. So drugs, these are drugs maybe of four types: narcotics, depressants, stimulants, and the drugs which cause hallucinations. So, and there are various types of drugs, and all these drugs, these are dealt in India by NDPS Act, which is the Prime Act, which regulates the consumption, possession, sale, purchase, manufacturing of all such substances. Now, drugs and these kinds of substances, for examining the legalities of this, these all are dealt in centrally. NCB, the Narcotics Control Bureau, that is the nodal agency, the central nodal agency, which regulates the policies and they strategize the programs to reduce the drug demand reduction and also for investigation and other things. NDPS Act, it aims at prohibiting the use of drugs at all stages, starting from the cultivation. Cultivation is the very basic stage, so starting from the cultivation to manufacturing, sale, purchase, consumption, possession. So it deals with all such stages where these substances they can meddle with a person, and which all drugs are included in this act. They are appended to the schedule. There is a schedule which is appended to the act. So all those substances which are prohibited, those are mentioned in our schedule to that act. Now, a very common question which pops up whenever we talk about NDPS Act and other things are that which drug and in what quantity it has to be, how much quantity one has to actually possess in order to make that offense punishable, to make that thing come under the scanner of the law. So that is a very interesting thing which is again dealt in by the act itself. The act, in order to determine the punishment for the possession of drugs, it classifies the drugs into three quantities. So there is one small quantity, then there is one more than small quantity and less than commercial quantity, which we may call as a moderate quantity, and the third one is the commercial quantity. Now it depends upon the type of drug. For example, if one has even 10 grams of cocaine, so that small quantity in itself, it carries more punishment than a weed's commercial quantity would entail. So our quantities, whether that is small, commercial, and what punishment will it carry, it will depend on two things. One, the nature of the drug, and number two, the quantity that that particular drug has, whether that comes under small, moderate, or the commercial one. So the punishment, it ranges from 6 months to 20 years, and the parameters, as I told you, would be the nature of drug that is found in the possession, and number two, whether it is small or moderate, or of the commercial quantity nature. Then, if any drug is used for any medicinal purpose or any scientific research purpose, one gets an immunity from punishment, and that is not punishable under the act. However, for using these things in for such purposes, one has to take the prior approval and prior permission of the concerned central government. Then if anyone is a habitual offender, then and if a person has been priorly convicted of drug related offenses, and he commits a similar type of offense again, then he may be punished for more than he may be given almost 1.5 times of the usual punishment, which may also extend to death penalty. So it carries stringent provisions if one habitually deals with the drugs. And talking about bail, in a lot of offenses, if anyone here knows, the basis of criminal the very basis of criminal jurisprudence in India, it is that a person is presumed to be innocent until he is proven guilty. Whenever a person is tried before the court, that person is presumed to be innocent. It is for the state to prove his guilt before he is before he is given that tag of being a convict or guilty. However, this presumption, it is reversed in a few cases, and drug abuse, it's one of those things. If a person is found in the possession of drugs, so whether that's a conscious possession or it is not a conscious possession, as per the NDPS Act, that person is presumed to have consumed it, and he is presumed to have a conscious possession of it. And in these cases, the mens rea, that is the mental element, your motive, it is presumed that you possess that necessary motive to consume it and to flout the law. So it is incumbent upon the person, that is the accused, who is found in the possession, to prove his innocence. It is not incumbent upon the state to come and prove that because you were found in the possession, you are guilty. It is incumbent upon you to show that yes, this possession, although this possession was there, but it was an unconscious possession, and through other evidence and other facts, one has to prove it. Securing bail in NDPS cases, it's very strict. Apart from the regular bail conditions, in NDPS cases, there are special bail conditions which are to be imposed. There is no system of getting a bail from the police. The automatic bails which we usually get in bailable offences, those provisions are altogether missing here. Here, mandatorily, the public prosecutor gets an opportunity to oppose the bail, and then the person who is seeking bail has to show to the court that he is not guilty at the stage of bail, and also he has to show that he will not likely to commit this offense if he is granted bail. So this makes the grant of bail in NDPS cases very stringent. It is very strict law. And then if the person who is found to be involved in any drug related offense, if that person is below the age of 18 years, in that case he will be dealt in with the Juvenile Justice Act. And there, of course, there are provisions of automatic bail and other things. There the child would be treated as a child in conflict with law, and he will have some special immunities. And otherwise, if any adult is found to be meddling with any of the provisions, in that case, the provisions and the conditions are very stringent. And for example, a few years down the line, sorry, a few years ago, we saw the case of the infamous case of Aryan Khan, wherein allegedly he was found to be in the possession of a few narcotics substances. So although NCB then gave a clean chit to him because they were unable to substantiate that he was in the possession, although the other accused persons, they had in their conscious possession one or more substances, but he they failed to prove that he was in the conscious possession, number one, and they failed to show any nexus between the WhatsApp communications, the WhatsApp chats, and the accused. So whether a possession is possession of drugs, whether it is conscious or unconscious, that is to be seen from these kind of things. That what is your relation with the person who is actually selling it? Have you met him for the first time, or are you regularly in touch with him, right? And other factors, whether you whether any narcotics is found in your blood, so medical reports and other things. So these kind of things are used to prove the charges and also prove the relationship of whatever that is found with the person who is allegedly accused of these offenses. And if one has even cultivated it, consumed it, even if you have only, if you're found to be only in the possession of such a substance, and you have not consumed it, even then this offense, the NDPS provisions are very stringent, and one can be prosecuted for this offense. And apart from this, yes, one has to like be very cautious whenever it comes to being around people who regularly consume it, because law, law sees no exceptions, and these NDPS Act, especially, it brooks no exceptions. It is a very strict law, and securing bail in these cases is very difficult. However, if any person is by any chance found to be addicted and is in the possession of these kind of things, one should get resort to the de-addiction centers. And if any accused takes resort to these de-addiction modes and de-addiction methods, that is also an immunity under the NDPS Act. In these cases, the punishment, it gets reduced further. So one must take benefit from those beneficial provisions. And that's all about NDPS and the alcohol laws in India. If anyone has any questions relating to it, one can just post the questions in the comments, and we will deal with those questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the wealth of insights that you have shared with us today. Your expertise has absolutely illuminated our discussions about the legal arena, and your commitment to sharing your knowledge is highly appreciated. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, I'm honored to extend a formal invitation to Dr. Rachna Khanna, a distinguished individual who serves as a esteemed guest speaker. Dr. Khanna's expertise and accomplishments in the field of yoga are widely recognized, making her a highly valuable contributor to our event. We warmly welcome her to share her profound insights and knowledge with our attendees during the organization. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Kansha, for the warm welcome. Sorry, my camera is not able to, I'm not able to switch on the camera due to some technical issues. Still, I'm trying. As soon as it is on, I'll talk face to face. So, I would like to start the discussion with the lines of Swami Vivekanand, who once said that main object of teaching is not to explain, but to knock the door of the mind. So the discussion is about knocking the mind, knocking the door of the mind, and empowering the mind. And we have learned a lot from the insights provided by Dr. Amrita Pain and Advocate Bhavna Gandhi. They have already dealt with how the youth become victim of substance and elaborating the causes. So I would like to start as to how to prevent or counter the substance addiction. And being a yoga and fitness expert, I would first deal how yoga and change in our lifestyle can be extraordinarily helpful to counter substance abuse. So I strongly believe that incorporating yoga into a comprehensive treatment plan for substance abuse can provide individuals with valuable tools and techniques to address physical, emotional, and spiritual aspects of recovery. Because as you all know, it is a holistic approach. Holistic therapy, yoga, is a holistic approach. So uh, that can be beneficial in confronting substance abuse in several ways, like stress reduction. हम जाते क्यों हैं सब्सटेंस अब्यूज की तरफ, हमारा अट्रैक्शन जो क्रेविंग होती है वो होती क्यों है, बिकॉज व्हेन वी आर इन स्ट्रेस. अभी जब डॉक्टर अमृता पेन सेशन ले रही थी तो आई रेड वन क्वेश्चन, एक स्टूडेंट का था कि आई वांट टू लुक कूल, मैंने पढ़ा उसको. तो ये जो चैलेंज और कॉम्पिटिशन सबकी लाइफ में आता है, स्पेशली बीइंग इन यूथ, तो वो स्ट्रेस आता है कि हाँ मुझे कूल लगना है, या आपका कुछ एकेडमिक फ्रंट पर या प्रोफेशनल फ्रंट पर कंपटीशन है, तो आपको उसको कैसे कोप करना है. बट उसको कोप करने के लिए ये नहीं कि आप कुछ एडिक्शंस का सहारा लें. तो स्ट्रेस रिडक्शन योगा जो है यहाँ पर एक वाइटल रोल प्ले करता है, इंपॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले करता है. एंड देयर आर सिग्निफिकेंट चेंजेस टू क्विट द क्रेविंग एंड एडिक्शंस with the help of yoga. So first of all, it helps for stress reduction. Substance abuse often stem from trying to cope with stress or unpleasant emotions. So, yoga incorporates breathing techniques and mindful practices that can help individuals manage stress more effectively, reducing the likelihood of turning to substance for temporarily. And physical health. Yeah, you can switch. Yes, shift. Physical health. इसमें बेटर फिजिकल हेल्थ एंड स्लीप बहुत जरूरी है. तो आपको रेगुलर वॉक करना, कुछ भी एक्सरसाइज करो, आप जिम करते हो, योगा करते हो, वॉक पैदल चल के जा रहे हो, दैट इज ऑल्सो सफिशिएंट. और सफिशिएंट स्लीप लेना बहुत जरूरी है, बिकॉज अगर आप सफिशिएंट स्लीप नहीं ले रहे हो तो आपका जो कॉर्टिसोल, जो स्ट्रेस हार्मोन है, वो इम्बैलेंस हो जाता है. सो फिजिकल हेल्थ जो है आपको प्रोवाइड करेगी आगे आपको मतलब it will help to increase strength, flexibility, and stamina. And one may be more motivated to adopt healthier lifestyle choices, because अब जब आप योगा करते हो या कुछ भी आप healthier lifestyle adopt कर रहे हो, आपका खुद का अपने आप ही मन नहीं करेगा. योगा एक मेरे खुद के एक्सपीरियंसेस है, आप आज तक मैंने जितना आपको करवाया है, अगर आपकी बॉडी की रिक्वायरमेंट करेला खाने की है तो वो आपकी बॉडी अपने आप ही मतलब डिमांड करेगी करेला खाने की, बिकॉज आपकी बॉडी की क्या नीड है ये उसके ऊपर काम करता है, इसके ऊपर काम नहीं करता आप क्या चाहते हो. सो देर आर सिग्निफिकेंट चेंजेस इन मोटिवेशन. आपको मोटिवेशन मिलेगा क्विट करने के लिए, आपका आउटलुक ही बदल जाएगा लाइफ का. आप इमोशनल रेगुलेशन होता है, आपके हॉर्मोन्स के ऊपर काम करेगा, आपके फोकस आता है, अलर्टनेस आती है, स्टडीनेस आती है. और नेगेटिविटी जो मेन जिसकी वजह से ये सब कुछ होता है, एक निगेशन आ जाता है जब आपको किसी भी ड्यू टू एनी सर्कमस्टांसेस. तो ये इस तरह से काम करेगा जैसे आसमान में जैसे काले बादल होते हैं ना, आप देखते हो, और वो अचानक से गायब हो जाते हैं. द मोमेंट यू स्टार्ट डूइंग योगा आपको ऐसा ही फील होने वाला है, ट्रस्ट मी. सो इमोशनल रेगुलेशन पे काम करेगा ये, कम्युनिटी सपोर्ट पे काम करता है, पार्टिसिपेटिंग इन योगा क्लासेस, बिकॉज आप योगा क्लासेस में जा रहे हो, लोगों से मिल रहे हो, एक सोशल लाइफस्टाइल आपका हो जाता है. इट प्रोवाइड्स एन अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर इंडिविजुअल in recovery to connect back with the society in a supportive environment, and it offers encouragement and a sense of belonging to the individual caught in a grip of substances. एंड माइंड बॉडी कनेक्शन, जैसे मैंने पहले भी बोला कि आपका मन अगर करेला खाने का है, क्योंकि आपका ये माइंड बॉडी कनेक्शन सबने सुना, योगा इज अ माइंड बॉडी कनेक्शन, सब लोग बोलते रहते हैं है क्या ये, बिकॉज आपका जो माइंड है वो आपकी बॉडी को उसी तरह से काम करवाएगा जो आपके लिए अच्छा है, जो आपकी बॉडी की रिक्वायरमेंट है, जो उसकी नीड है, ये उसके ऊपर काम करता है. इट प्रमोट्स सेल्फ अवेयरनेस एंड सेल्फ कंपैशन. And this integrated approach can help individuals address underlying issues contributing to substance abuse and foster अ सेंस ऑफ होलनेस एंड इनर पीस, जो बहुत जरूरी है। अंदर की मन की शांति बहुत जरूरी है। अंदर आग लग रही है, इधर जाना है, ये करना है, वो करना है, वो कैसे ठीक होगा? आप योगा करोगे, बिकॉज ये हमारे हॉर्मोन्स के ऊपर काम करता है, हमारे मेंटल प्रेशर के ऊपर काम करता है, क्रेनियल नर्व्स के ऊपर काम करता है, सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टम के ऊपर काम करता है, एंड spiritual growth. Engaging in yoga can help individuals reconnect with their values and develop a deeper sense of spirituality. जैसे इसमें लिखा है मैंने कि पतंजलि योग सूत्र है, उसमें कहा गया योगा चित्त वृत्ति निरोधा, महर्षि पतंजलि said once, मतलब चित्त वृत्ति, चित्त यानी मन, आपका जो मन है उसकी जो वृत्तियां हैं जितनी भी, उनको निरोध करता है, उनको स्टॉप करता है, ऑब्स्टेकल्स लेकर आता है, जितनी भी आपको मन में क्या क्या चल रहा है उसके ऊपर कंट्रोल लाता है, उसमें हेल्प करता है ये। सो मेंटल डिसऑर्डर्स, बिकॉज स्ट्रेस होता है तो उससे आपको फिर फर्दर मेंटल डिसऑर्डर्स होते हैं। एंड व्हेन रिस्पॉन्स ऑफ अवर, क्या है मेंटल डिसऑर्डर्स, क्या है, अभी जो पीछे इतनी बात हो रही थी डॉक्टर अमृता नेगी की, बिकॉज रिस्पॉन्स ऑफ अवर ब्रेन इज नॉट नॉर्मल टू एनी सर्कमस्टांस, दैट इज मेंटल डिसऑर्डर। तो रीजन क्या है? नेगेटिविटी। नेगेटिविटी होने से क्या होगा कि आपका जो इम्यून सिस्टम है वो भी वीक हो जाता है। आपने सुना होगा कोविड के टाइम पर सब लोग, बहुत सारे लोग ने कोप अप किया, उसको बाहर आए उससे, लेकिन बहुत सारों की डेथ हुई। वो क्यों हुई? बिकॉज ऑफ द नेगेटिविटी। बिकॉज जैसे ही उनको वो, उन्होंने सोचना स्टार्ट कर दिया, अरे क्या होगा अब, हमारा क्या होगा, मेरी लाइफ, मेरी फैमिली का क्या होगा, बच्चों का क्या होगा। वो सोचते सोचते हमारा क्या होता है कि द मोमेंट वी स्टार्ट थिंकिंग नेगेटिव नेगेटिव, हमारा जो वाइट ब्लड सेल्स हैं उनकी जो कैपेसिटी है फॉरेन पार्टिकल से लड़ने की, वो वैसे 11,500 होती है, वो 1/3 होकर 350 पर आ जाती है। तो अब एक इतना, अगर कोई इन्फेक्शन है हमारी बॉडी में आ गया, फॉरेन पार्टिकल आ गया, उससे लड़ने के लिए अगर आपके पास पावर ही नहीं होगी तो आप कैसे लड़ोगे उससे? यही हुआ उनके साथ, बिकॉज उन्होंने दे स्टार्टेड थिंकिंग नेगेटिव। सो एक स्ट्रेस की बात हो रही है जैसे, तो एक बार मैं, नेक्स्ट आप कर दीजिए प्लीज स्लाइड को। हाँ, अभी जो योगा का जो रोल है, इसमें सूक्ष्म व्यायाम है, लूजनिंग एक्सरसाइजेस हैं दैट कैन एम्पावर द माइंड, नेक रोटेशंस, नेक को घुमाना है आपको, राइट एंड लेफ्ट करना है, ऊपर नीचे करना है, देन रोटेशन करनी है, देन आई एक्सरसाइजेस है, इसमें भी रोटेट करना है, पैरों को सर्कुलर मोशन में घुमाना है, फीट रोटेशन है, देन स्पाइन रोटेशन है, कैट एंड काउ। स्पाइन रोटेशन में हमारा जो वर्टेब्राज हैं वो तक, हमारे ब्रेन तक डायरेक्शंस जो हमें कम्युनिकेशन के लिए काम करते हैं, हमारे स्पाइन की जो वर्टेब्राज होती है। तो अगर आप इसमें कुछ भी इन्फ्लेमेशन नहीं होगी, कुछ टॉक्सिन्स नहीं होंगे, तो वो अच्छे से मूव कर पाएगा, हमारा जो ब्रेन तक कम्युनिकेशन जाना है वो बहुत अच्छे से जाएगा। शोल्डर रोटेशंस, ब्लड का सर्कुलेशन, बेसिकली ये जो सूक्ष्म व्यायाम है हमारे हर एक पार्ट तक ब्लड का सर्कुलेशन लेकर जाते हैं। शोल्डर रोटेशन है, टॉर्सो रोटेशन है। तो नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। और इसके अलावा कुछ आसनास, मुद्रास भी हैं। यस, ज्ञान मुद्रा है, इट इज बिलीव्ड टू एनहांस कंसंट्रेशन, मेमोरी एंड मेंटल क्लैरिटी। ये सब, इफ अगर कोई इंडिविजुअल है इज फेसिंग सब्सटेंस अब्यूज से, उसको एडिक्शन है या क्रेविंग होती है, तो उसको ये ही और शी शुड प्रैक्टिस दिस ज्ञान मुद्रा, देन वज्र मुद्रा एंड अभय मुद्रा। ये तीनों आपके प्रमोट करते हैं मेंटल स्टेबिलिटी को एंड हेल्प टू एम्पावर द माइंड अगेंस्ट डिस्ट्रैक्शंस, और एम्पावरिंग द माइंड विद नॉलेज, आपकी कंसंट्रेशन के ऊपर काम करता है, मेमोरीज के ऊपर काम करता है, मेंटल क्लैरिटी आती है आपको। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। Yes, and there are some asanas, 3 rounds of each of every asana should be practiced. This is Paschimottanasana, forward bend pose. And let me tell you that there are some contraindications also. So one should practice the asanas under the expert guidance only. Next slide, please. This is Paschimottanasana. Yes, next. ये जो है पश्चिमोत्तानासन, हमारे जो एड्रेनल और स्ट्रेस हार्मोन है, कॉर्टिसोल हार्मोन है, उसके ऊपर काम करता है। ये काम कैसे कर रहा है ये मैं थोड़ा सा आपको समझाना चाहूंगी। वी हैव गाबा, एक केमिकल होता है जो रेगुलेट करता है नर्व एक्टिविटीज को. सो इफ इट इज लो, इट डेफिशिएंट हार्मोन कंट्रोल कर देता है. हार्मोन्स का जो कंट्रोल है वो डेफिशिएंट हो जाता है अगर ये लो हो गया तो गाबा डेफिशिएंसी किस लिए होती है? बिकॉज ऑफ पुअर लाइफस्टाइल एंड लैक ऑफ एक्सरसाइज. एंड गाबा रिसेप्टर्स कैन बी इंक्रीज्ड विद योगा. योगा से हम इसके जो रिसेप्टर्स हैं उसको हम इंक्रीज कर सकते हैं, विच कैन फर्दर हेल्प टू बैलेंस द हॉर्मोन्स. एंड cortisol effects can be balanced if it is regulated. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. हाँ, अर्ध चक्रासना. यस प्लीज एक पीछे कर दीजिए एक बार, प्रीवियस स्लाइड प्लीज. यस, अर्ध चक्रासन. ये हमारे डिप्रेशन के ऊपर काम करता है, कॉर्टिसोल लेवल के ऊपर मेंटेन करने के ऊपर काम करता है, और नर्वस सिस्टम के ऊपर काम करता है, हमारी इम्यून सिस्टम के ऊपर काम करता है, एंड इम्प्रूव्स द बैलेंस एंड हेंस बिल्ड फोकस. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज. श्वेत गरुड़ासन. It also helps to improve the entire nervous system, immune system, and improve the balance and build focus system. Next slide, please. There are some other asanas also. This is Adho Mukha Svanasana, जिसे downward dog position बोलते हैं. The moment you start practice this asana, you will feel that your mind is relaxed. एक वो withdraw की जो feeling आती है, surrender की feeling. You will start surrendering your negation. Tiryaktarasana, then it is Setu Bandhasan, Halasan, Vajrasan, Shalabhasana, Matsasyasana, Ushrasana. There are many other more asanas which can help. So basically yoga is able to change the brain chemistry. अब ये जो भी मैंने आपको asanas दिखाए हैं, ये imbalance जो होता है hormones का उसके ऊपर काम करता है, because it has been associated ultimately with anxiety disorder, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as and substance abuse. And these high level of hormones are toxic to our body and central nervous system. So the practice of these asanas, it can help to reduce or balance the stress hormone. Next slide, please. Yes, and there is some, I have made it schedule for 1 month, around 4 weeks. प्राणायामा. 1 week आपको अनुलोम विलोम करना है, मॉर्निंग में 20, इवनिंग में 20, टोटल 40. मतलब अनुलोम विलोम is you will start first inhale from left side and exhale from right nostril, then inhale from right nostril and exhale from left nostril. This is 1 round. इसी तरह से आपको 20 rounds करने हैं, मॉर्निंग देन इवनिंग, एंड टोटल 40 हो जाएंगे. और इसका कोई ये नहीं है कि आपको एम्प्टी स्टमक करना है. अगर आपने खाना खाया हुआ है उसके विद इन हाफ एन आवर आप स्टार्ट कर सकते हो. देन वीक 2 में आपको भस्त्रिका प्राणायाम करना है. भस्त्रिका के लिए आपको एम्प्टी स्टमक होना जरूरी है. इसमें भी आपको 12, इसमें ये है कि एक भस्त्रिका प्राणायाम होता है रैपिड इनहेलेशन एंड एक्सहेलेशन, फास्ट. बेसिकली हमें करना क्या है, हमारी जो में जो थॉट आती है ना उसको ऑल्टर करना है. उसकी ऑल्टरेशन कैसे होगी, जैसे मैंने स्टार्टिंग में बताया, ब्रीदिंग टेक्निक्स. दीज ऑल आर ब्रीदिंग टेक्निक्स. तो हम उसको ऑल्टर कर देंगे, कभी हम स्लो करेंगे, कभी हम फास्ट करेंगे. अभी जैसे भस्त्रिका फास्ट है, देन अगेन अनुलोम विलोम करना है आपको 20-20 ईच. देन वीक 3 में आपको क्या प्राणायाम करना है, उज्जयी आपको ये प्राणायाम ऐसा है कि आपको एक अंदर किसी के अगर डर होता है ना, किसी भी चीज को लेकर के डर है, फेलियर को लेकर ही डर है, कोई भी